Okay, so right now Bitcoin is testing some support levels that I'm going to show you guys. Besides that, we're also looking at how healthy the structure is, what signs are there that the structure is either weakening further, allowing us to have that one more dip that I've been talking about for a while, or how can we decide and position ourselves not just to take advantage of higher upside, but potentially also conserve capital to really average in a great deal before Bitcoin goes much higher. And I'm going to break that down. I'm going to show you guys my opinion, and this is all purely just my opinion. I'm showing you guys what I'm personally doing. I'm not telling anyone to copy, but I do want to at least show you guys how I break down my own charts. So I didn't make a video yesterday because I did have the opportunity to go to the new Jurassic World Rebirth movie. It's I got to see it 2 weeks early, so it's amazing. I highly recommend you guys to check it out if you have the chance when it comes out. It's actually a really good movie, just like pretty much all Jurassic World movies are. But either way, what I want to show you guys right now is I did add more to that Bitcoin swing trade with BitU. I added just $5,000 more. I'm gonna be a little bit lighter. Instead of adding 10,000 at a time, I'm at 5,000 at a time until the chart really either comes into discount or we start to see proper strength. Then I'll start adding more aggressively. But I did add 5,000, so it's 45,000 invested into BitU, with the idea of much higher prices throughout this year. But let's go ahead and break down the chart. So in order to potentially confirm that we're, you know, much more probable to go higher and that we won't be retesting this purple area, basically what I'm looking forward to. And I don't think this is super likely, but I'm just going to get this one out the way, which is holding above the 102.2k level within this fib retracement, which captures this entire upside right here. This would allow the price to have a healthy, proper, higher low within this low, smaller structure, and allow the price to potentially break this swing high and therefore create a lot more bullish momentum, volume increases, and we can, potentially shortly after that make a higher high overall, but a new all-time high. I think that's least likely. Now, what's in my opinion more likely is for the price to hold at or below the 120 moving average. Basically, this looks like this, where every time we have a new movement, so right now the new movement is price tops out right here, we're moving downward at the moment, allowing the price to break below the 120 moving average and allow the RSI to begin to reset itself. Now the RSI is not exhausted to the bottom. It has not overextended the bottom line right here, but it still hit it. It's absolutely fine for the price to rally off of there, and it's also exactly at the top of the 0.3 extension at $105,110. Now, what I'm doing with this is that I'm just going to create another simple, and it's not going to be color coded or anything. It's just a simple retracement which overlaps with the 120 moving average, and it's a potential strong top at 107.5k. Now, there's two ways this can play out, where we just don't really hit this area and instead the price does this, where it just continues this aggressive downtrend, where it's, every bullish correction within it is super short-lived. It doesn't really do much and it just keeps dropping. So this can easily just keep dropping, find support somewhere between the 0.618 and the 0.5, which is 102.2k and 103.5k. And then from there, we either go up, test the retracement, respect it, and then finally come down, have one more low into the purple deep value, which is also a bigger picture higher low, and then go much higher. And this can extend all the way down to roughly 95 or even, the low 90s. Very much possible. It's not out of the question, and in my opinion, it's the most likely scenario. Now, this can either play out by the price going up into this retracement now, and then coming down into the higher low deep value purple, and then going much, much higher. So, it can play out in multiple ways. Rather that's, you know, it coming down further into support, hitting resistance coming down, or it just jumping up from here, hitting resistance coming down. And there's even a third possibility, which is the price just continuing to trend all the way down into the purple below 100K once again before, we potentially start seeing a bottom. Okay, so 3 scenarios, they all lead towards the same direction, but there's 3 ways it can happen. Regardless, it all leads into the same direction. Now, that's what I'm mostly looking for, is that overall move down. One more deep value into purple, it'll create a very, very healthy structure for, the bears to just do their thing, finally step away, and then the bulls can take over and bring us up into a new high. Now, in order to invalidate this area, it's simple, right? We either continue higher from here, break over the swing high, and then within that move higher, we're creating new retracements to use as support. If the support holds and we go up higher, that'll be a proper test, right? Where there's 2 levels, breaking resistance and then holding a new level of support that will be created within that price action. And then if we can hold that and go higher, then that's it. I'm invalidating this purple area. The moment the price hits the green, and probably even before the price hits the green, I'll invalidate this purple area. But that's just, I'm not going to go over it too much. It's not something I really believe in short term. I do believe the price will be much, much higher later this year, but I just believe that there's a lot more weakness in the short term right now. Mainly because a lot of this FOMO and hype we've been seeing in the overall market, a lot of this news is starting to kind of become old news, and you're seeing a lot of this hype volume and cash flowing in a little. It's kind of like starting to fade away, and the S&P is, pushing higher, and at any moment the S&P can fall. It could be bullish for Bitcoin if the S&P falls, but regardless, if the S&P falls purely due to fundamental, just overextension in the short term, and it's just correcting itself, then probably, it's absolutely possible. I think Bitcoin can rally off of that, seeing the S&P fall. But if some news comes out, some random news that's negative, and it affects and creates a lot of fear in the overall markets, it's very much possible that we see the S&P fall, also Bitcoin falls. And this is also backed with the VIX being very, very low. I did take a VIX trade earlier in June, and I showed you guys it was a little bit of an insurance trade, a small position in case things got worse with that Eastern war. But things got good, and it started falling, and we started seeing that, hey, things are actually kind of holding up a little bit better. So I closed out that trade, just taking a small loss and allowing me to still have that insurance play in case it got worse. But of course Bitcoin went much higher. Portfolio value completely recovered the losses I took on the VIX trade. So that's pretty much an insurance play, working out pretty well at the end of the day either way, right? Protecting ourselves and preparing for the worst while still allowing the overall portfolio to profit regardless if things are just better than expected. So I'm looking to potentially take another VIX trade soon. I'm just trying to see if, the S&P and the overall markets kind of begin to show real weakness. And I mean, the RSI is pretty much well overextended in the short term. The price can easily come down to the 120 moving average, and we'll see if that holds. The way that can influence Bitcoin, of course, is like money starts flowing out of the S&P. It could allow money to flow into Bitcoin, but I'm not hoping on that. I'm purely positioned in this. What I'm doing, we started falling. I added another 5K. I plan to add another 5K if resistance fails to, or not fails, but if it properly holds and we start seeing the price drop and coming into this retracement a little bit more, if we can break below 105K, which I think is very likely, the price can potentially rally all the way up to 107.5K potentially, flirting with the 120 moving average before it comes down. So I'm not going to do it just yet. I want to see if this can hold. Price comes down below 105, then I will add another 5K, making the position 50K invested into it. And then at that point, I'll add another 10K on top of that, and then another 10K after that. If we can just break, we coming over here, we're trading around 103K, under 105, I'll buy more. And then the moment we break below 102.2k, so going in between deep value and the retracement gap, I'll add another 10k, and then I'll add the final 10k into the swing trade if we can break below this swing low right here. Because I've said this in previous videos, any further dip within the purple, especially breaking down below the swing low, I don't believe it will be. I just believe it will be very short lived. I believe a lot of that deep value Bitcoin has been bought up, and it's the same belief I had when we were down here. Every deep value below 80k would not be it would just be very short lived, and that's exactly what happened. It's just my opinion, and I expect something very, very similar to play out here as well. So I'm being cautious. I'm conserving capital because I do believe we can have deeper value to accumulate much more attractively at those prices. But of course, if we do get that bullish confirmation that I explained earlier, then I'll be looking to just add more and get ready for what I believe will be a very nice rest of the year going forward. But again, that's only if that happens. I don't believe it will. It could. It's much less likely. I'm looking for deeper prices. So we got resistance right now to keep an eye on, and we have a little bit more of a support that we can keep an eye on as well. So yeah, we'll see how this goes, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.